Remember, we decided that this piston would go down about 200 thou. So we want to make this push rod 100 thou longer. If this push rod goes, if this lifter has 200 travel, we want to make this push rod to 0, and then we want to make it 100 thou longer. Well, let's try our best, given the situation we have to work with here, how to make the push rod longer like that. All right, I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to shorten this push rod up to about where it would go in an engine and try and get to a round number that we can look at. I'm going to move it to 9.5 to start with, just for purposes of this video. Who knows what it really would be? Somebody's smart. But you can see here, I've got this push rod to about 9.5 inches. Okay? 9.5 inches. Now I'm going to move it 2 turns. Here's the, all right, let's go. 2 turns would be longer. There's 1 turn. 2 turns, and then lock it down where it won't move while I'm measuring it. And then I'm going to go back to the push rod, to the tape measure, and see what we gained. As you can see here, it moved it 1/8 of an inch. That's 125 thousandths. So we made the push rod 125 thousandths longer with 2 turns. Now let's go to 4 turns like I read on the internet. People say you got to move it 4 turns. All right, let's go. All right, let's go 1, 2. That makes 3 turns total. And then go again, and that makes 4 turns total. Now let's lock it down where it won't move, just enough for the video. And then let's put it back on the tape measure. I hope y'all can see this good because I'm steady talking. All right, you can see how much longer I made it now. It was 9.5. Now it's almost 9 3/4. It's a little less than 9 3/4. So I pretty much used up the majority of the, I have just depressed this lifter, this piston down almost 3/8 of an inch, and it only had that much. So me, George Bryce, Star Racing, my style is I want the lifter, I want the piston off the clip. I want it in the middle of its travel so that it can go, so this push rod can move up and down as the oil pressure feeds through the bleed hole. Oil pressure goes in here and keeps this full. Also, the most important thing that happens for the reliability of our engines is for this oil pressure, the same oil pressure that comes through your new oil pump or your old oil pump, to come up through this hole under. If you got 50 psi in your engine, 50 psi comes up through this hole. It goes through this hole, comes out this hole, and goes to the rock arm, and it spills out the rock arm and goes all over the bearings and the valve springs and all the parts in there. And if you look through this, you'll be able to see the hole at the other side. This is one hollow push rod, and your goal is to set this piston in this lifter travel at 50% of that, and it's your job to figure out what that travel is. Now you can call somebody and say, how much travel does your lifters have? And how much threads per inch do you have, and count the turns. But me, if I bought these push rods and I'm sitting on the table here before I put them in, I'm going to know, me, George Bryce, I'm going to know how many turns makes how long of a push rod. And you can also do it by math with threads per inch. And I would also know what the lifter travel is. And I can do it with this lifter empty with no oil in it. I can actually look at this and tell you, I can see if this is 100 thou travel, I can see. It is way over 200 travel here. I can see it. If you look close, you can see that I can push this down